Hello all, welcome to Up the Poshcast, the Poshcast made by the fans for the fans. Grab yourself a drink, put your feet up and listen in. And by the way, there could be some strong language.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Up the Poshcast. We are delighted to say we've got Peterborough United chairman Darragh MacAnthony on. Darragh, how's things this evening?
Oh, good. Just about to do your job for you and plug for you on Twitter and stuff to get a few more listeners in now. So,
We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, always happy to help you fellas. How you all doing? Did everyone have a good Christmas?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Very good from my end. Just to take care of some business before we start, just to let the viewers know sort of how we're going to go about things. You can ask questions in the chat as we go. As you may have seen from some of those messages, we're accused of we might bottle it. So if you think we're bottling it, feel free to ask your own questions. All the questions we're going to ask tonight have come in from you guys. We've had over 1,000 submissions, which is pretty crazy, to be honest. So we're not going to do any names like this is a question from at whoever, just because people ask the same question like multiple times. So we're just going to leave them anonymous, but they have all come from you guys. And if you want to chat with us on Twitter, the hashtag is Poshcast Live. So hashtag Poshcast Live. We'll keep an eye on the comments as we go. And that's it in terms of taking care of business. So we'll get straight into it. I guess the first thing to ask Darragh is, what did you think of the game yesterday?
What did I think of the game yesterday? Well, first of all, shame the other four guys that do your pod weren't on. But, like I said to you, make it be known I was happy to take all 7 of you on. No problemo. What did I think of the game yesterday? I enjoyed the first half more than the second half for obvious reasons. I thought we grew into the game. I thought we started controlling the game. I thought, they had obviously their plan A. I thought we negated it really well. I thought we settled down after the first 10 minutes and we did our thing with possession. I thought we had some of the best chances, Cricky obviously from 2 yards out, but any other fucking year, 99 times out of 100, that goes in off his dick into the goal instead of bouncing off his leg to the other side of the goal to the goalie. I was really encouraged. I loved our new right back. I thought it was the best, defending performance from a right back, one-on-one defending I've seen in a couple of years, and I think we've missed that. So really happy with Carl coming in. I think he's going to bring JD on a lot over the next couple of seasons. He's going to be real, challenge for that spot on the team. We've been missing that because we've had so many loans the last 2 years playing right back. So that was an important one to get knocked down. And for him thrown in at that kind of game, I thought it was at 9 out of 10 crosses he'd stopped. It was only one time he got beaten. So yeah, really promising. And then the second half, I was a bit, we didn't have enough, there was no shots on goal. I want to always see my team. I don't want to watch 90 minutes where we don't have a shot on goal. I'm not criticising the boys. I'm not criticising the team. Wrexham's not an easy place to go to. I don't think anyone's really, bar a couple of draws, gone there and taken it to them or won a game. I felt the longer the game went on, I thought maybe they'll get frustrated, we'll nick a goal. But I don't want to be nicking goals. I want to get back to when we can go to places like Wrexham and win and have 20 shots on goal. So because of that lack of confidence at the moment, because of all the things going against us, it's just we're playing within ourselves in periods. So I thought defensively we were very strong. I thought Manny, Oscar, Carl, and I thought young Keane on the other side were phenomenal. They were our best defenders. I thought the shift they put in to lose to a goal like that where, one of our midfielders doesn't stop a cross and then obviously one of our defenders gets beaten in the 87th minute. That was just a gut punch. And I'm just sitting here going, fuck, it's just like, deja vu. It's a bit like Bolton. You go there and you defend your guts out and then you just get kicked in the teeth late on. So encouraging signs. Because as mad as this sounds, I do think we're better than we've shown defensively, which is a joke to say that with our defensive record. But I think there are better days ahead. I think we've had some serious kicks in the nuts. I think a lot of things have gone against us. A lot of that's our fault as well. We're always going to take responsibility, but there's been a lot of unforeseen circumstances too. So I thought the away support was great hearing our fans over the Wrexham fans late in the game because of that frustration that sometimes happens when you're a team expected to win and you're going for promotion. Suddenly your fans with 20 minutes or 15 minutes to go get quiet if it's not quite going your way. So I could hear the Posh support, which was really good. What else did I think of the game? I thought Bradley did well for his first start. Somebody goes, I know our fans will put him in that bracket of terrible signing, money wasted, blah, 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 blah. But there's a very good player in that boy. And, we know our strikers and we like him. And he was very unfortunate with the growth of the bone spurt he had. Typical our fucking look. That he hasn't played a lot more because I think he's very different to all the other strikers we have. And he holds the ball up well. He's also got a bit about him. If you saw him coming off the pitch, I don't endorse what he did, but he's got some cojones on him. He's got a bit of a mouth on him, and I don't mind players with a bit of an edge, when they take that to the pitch. I think Colin Clark's got that as well. So yes, it was good for Bradley. So look, there's so much more improvement in us, and I think as things settle down and we get out of this period of a game every 48 hours, or you turn it around, I think we're going to win a lot of games. I am confident about that. I'm delighted getting Jenkinson, or I keep calling him Jenkinson. Sorry. I said to the manager yesterday, he said, what, the Arsenal guy? He must be 50. We're not signing that older player. I said, oh, let me just call him CJ. I'm delighted getting a boy from Fleetwood because we had a little attempt at that last year. It was unattainable. We looked in the summer again. It was unattainable. And then it was just, I was in London with my family before they flew back on Friday. So I took them out to London the day before for some last minute lunch and just, buzz around the city. And that deal was all done while I was in London. And it was really funny. It was done in an hour. And the only thing I needed to do was get Charlie Adam to speak to our manager, just about his character, about that. We knew as a player what he's got, the potential, all the metrics, but we just wanted to look, what kind of lad is he? What kind of character is he? Will he dig in? Is he one of them who likes, to battle when you need to battle? And to be fair to Charlie Adam, he came straight back to me and said, look, there's my new number. Send that to the gaffer. The gaffer rang me. He was like, oh, Chairman, if you can do this deal, absolutely. We want to, bring him in. So I was in the back of a cab on the way to Cipriani's for lunch when I got the quote and the price. And then it was just a bit of paying it over whatever time, just because of the restrictions on financial fair play and how we manage it. And the boy 4 hours later was driving from Fleetwood down to stay in a hotel overnight. Did his medical, met his teammates, on the Friday, and then played the game on a Saturday. So, they're the kind of players and people that I want around our football club, and he would have busted guts to sign for us. So really happy about that signing. And, I didn't announce the signing. The manager didn't want anything announced until the game, I said, it's not, look, as good as a player he is, it's not like we're hiding Ronaldinho in the dressing room. So and then the media guys were like, do you want to announce this signing before the game? And I'm like, I don't tweet in match days. So this is the one time you get a bit of, the Posh account can announce a signing, kind of thing. So no, I think from a game perspective, I think I'd give it a solid 6.5, 7 out of 10. And I think, but I want to be back to the days where I hate not feeling confident going up against anyone, particularly in League One. I hate that horrible feeling in my stomach where it's like, oh, can we win this game? Almost feeling like we're playing Real Madrid or something. I hate feeling like that. And football's odd that when you get a really bad run of results or when you're getting the shit kicked out of you and you lose games, your confidence, even as a non-player, just hits the fucking shitter. And you're just like, Christ, fair play to Wrexham. We know all about them. We know how good they are. We know how high they are on the table. But we've played Leicester, we've played Southampton, we've played Brighton, we've played Leeds at this level, and I never had a pit in my stomach playing those teams. Funny enough, I always felt like we had a fighting chance. Last year we went to Derby, took it to them, some of the big teams. So I hated that feeling. I want to get rid of that feeling. It's one of my biggest resolutions is enough of this bullshit. Let's get fucking going here. Because I'm getting there's nothing about the manager or whatever else. I'm just getting to the stage where what the fuck? We've got to move on from the injuries. We've got to move on from the nonsense. We've got to move on from bad performances. We've got to move on from, they're too young and, they need help, whatever else. They're more than good enough to be fucking well up the table. They're more than good enough to win a lot of games. You don't beat teams 5-1, 6-1, score the goals we do, you know what I mean, to be languishing where we are. So we got to get our finger out of our arseholes and get moving. And I'm confident we'll do that. Not quite sure we'll do it against Everton. But if we're up to me, I'd play the youth team against Everton. So I know the 3,000 fans coming would hate to hear that, but I'm the EFL Trophy game the following Tuesday is more important. The game obviously against Leighton's more important because Does that sound mad? It's like I'm almost like, yeah, maybe it sounds mad. I don't know. I'm just like, getting back to winning, getting back to the league, getting up the table, winning that trophy again. They're kind of my priorities. Yes, I want us to give a good account of ourselves against Everton. I want us to go well and give our fans something to get excited about. But I've been here 19 years, and every time we play a big club or we get a big game, I'm stood there. It's like over after 10 fucking minutes. I mean, it's happened so many times. So maybe I've got just too many battle scars, being in it so long. So anyway, enough about that. Well, do you disagree with anything I said about the Wrexham game, or have you got different thoughts?
No, not massively. I'm going to come in first, and I wanted to sort of touch on, obviously, Carl Johnston and the signing of that one, because obviously Fergie said that you had been watching him and he'd been watching him and he wanted him for a while. So what sort of changed between the summer and now? Because I'm pretty sure he has been playing for Fleetwood. And then obviously on the back of that as well, I'd also just sort of like to ask where the Sam Curtis deal come from, because I know that we definitely haven't said too many positive things about him, but he was probably one of the worst loan signings that I think we've had in a while. So just wanted to sort of get your view on that.
And the funny thing is, it's like I look back in time and go, our fans turned on Ballymumba at one stage from starting really well to ending up not in our team, and he wasn't good and whatever. Then he goes out on loan and he becomes, Roberto Carlos at Plymouth. And they get promoted from a league below, I guess, whatever. So I'm going to be careful about, because I don't want to insult loan signings. I want to insult young, particularly somebody who's 18, 19. At the end of the day, Sam Curtis, I'm sure, will have an amazing career. And I'm sure he'll have learned a lot from his spell. And I'm sure when he goes to Sheffield United, whether he goes out on loan again, he'll probably end up in world class out on loan, as has happened with us sometimes with loans. It just doesn't work out. Where did it come from? So the Fleetwood boy, the managers loved him ever since he shut down Ephraim Mason-Clark in a game we played against them. Ephraim didn't get a kick. He thought he was one of the best one-on-one defenders. And Ephraim was probably the best left-sided winger in our league when he was up against him. And Fleetwood were struggling in League One at the time. So he'd always liked him. He'd always been high on our data as well. And we looked at it in the summer, but we knew Fleetwood were losing some players that were going to try and keep them out of promotion challenge. And I guess when you get to the January, clubs what would the right word be? Readjust on their expectations. Well, are we going to go up? Are we not going to go up? Is now the time to do a deal on a player? So that deal became possible now, because we asked the question again. It wasn't potentially possible in the summer, if that makes sense. So the Sam Curtis one came from, nobody's thrown anyone under the bus. I know you'd all love me to say I signed Sam Curtis and I've chased him since he was in Ireland and blah, 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 blah. He was a name that was in the batch that was thrown up. There was 4 names. The reason it was decided to go for him was because of what had happened to us, and this is going to sound ironic. Defensively last year, we weren't the best, and we wanted to sign more of a defensive right back who could defend better than attack, because we already had Kwame playing in front, and if we could get a right back that was basically a better defender, and we already had the attacking threat in front, that might work better. Blah, blah, blah. So it didn't work out. It is what it is. Sometimes you move on. We had James Donnelly. We knew we were doing the Katongo deal. We knew Jadal had done a really good job at the end of last season when called upon to play right back. We knew Donnelly would have a breakout season. We'd hoped he'd have a breakout season. And yes, he's had a few ropey games, JD, but he's, you don't get called up to the England elite squad if you don't have something about you. We feel he's massive part of our future. He's had a few bad games, but 18, 19-year-olds do, and probably been overplayed too much at times, and that can happen as well. And the Sam Curtis one just didn't work out. And that happens. But again, I'm not blaming anyone. There's no blame on me either. It's what happens sometimes in transfers. Was there another part to that question? It was that was Wrexham and Sam Curtis.
Yeah, I sort of want to jump in with a question of my own here. Obviously, this is one that a lot of the viewers have asked as well, especially in the last 24 hours. One of the big stories of this season has been Joel Randall. Obviously, signed him up to a big long-term contract in the summer. He was meant to be, the face of the new Peterborough United, it seemed. I mean, what on earth has happened there? Like, we obviously had that big stink before the Birmingham game, and he dropped out for a bit. What has gone on?
Yeah, so, Joel, obviously, there were bids in for him this summer, and like a few other players. And this is a really funny thing. If you'd ask me what are the regrets of this season, the manager would agree with me as well, is we probably should have sold some of the players we refused to sell. And the reason we didn't was because a couple of reasons. One, we'd done enough business early to cover off the cash flow for the year and part of the rebuild we were doing as well with the players coming in. And we just felt, well, we don't want to lose Hector. We don't want to lose Kwame. We don't want to lose Joel. We don't want to lose Ricky. We had over £11 million worth of bids at the end of August for all those players. And in hindsight, and this is something fans have to realize as well, it's not always about taking the money. Sometimes it's about the player feels it's their time to move on. Sometimes the player feels they might not get another opportunity, and keeping them sometimes might not be the best thing. Now, I'm not specifically talking about Joel here. You could describe that maybe for Hector, you could describe it for other players. And sometimes it's better to go, okay, we didn't win that promotion. Those players feel they can play in the champ. They can go get their 15, 16 grand a week. If we try, and we just tried to hold them all. So I basically given the manager permission at that stage. Look, we've got what we need to do for the year ahead. Our budget's covered. I'll now put it over to you on decisions and any other transfers. And I made that quite clear, and he was happy with that. And at the same time, he'd lost some good players, and I didn't want us to lose any more good players, because you're also like, the fans are obviously not going to be happy. Your manager wouldn't be happy. Your bank manager definitely won't be happy if you don't sell them. But I still thought, well, we can do it, and we can maybe sell them in the summer, or if things don't work out, maybe January, whatever. So the Randall one, there were bids came in, and I knew he had a year left. I knew he was over 24. So I knew, look, we're not going to sell him, but we'll have no value if we don't get him to sign a new deal. So I sat with, and the manager didn't want to lose him either. So I sat with Joel. It was during the pre-season friendly. I think it was Notts County in the summer. And he told me the clubs were in for him. I sat down with him. I spent half an hour with him, and I managed to convince him to sign a new deal, which got done the following week. And for whatever reason, and don't get me wrong, Joel hasn't been as bad as some might make out. He's still one of the most, the biggest creators of goals and whatever else in League One this season, playing in the team that's had its own issues. And there's a player in there. But maybe sometimes the player has 3 years at the club. And I've always said this, if you don't go up to the champ, or if you don't, whatever else, maybe it's time to move on. So the manager said to me a couple of weeks ago, if anyone comes in with any bids for Joe like we got in the summer, feel free to take them. He also knew that we had to create some cap space as well to get some business done. He also knew we had there's always a smaller hole from January to the summer that you always have to cover off as a club. So with that, then we got bids in the following week. It's not done. We accepted a bid. We got 2 written bids. We turned them down. We accepted a verbal bid the same day we were signing the Fleetwood boy, and that still has to be firmed up now. I don't think he's spoken terms yet. I don't think he's even spoke to the club. So obviously there was a game the following day for every club, including us yesterday. So I would imagine that will happen on Monday. I've seen some of the comments from our fans. I've seen comments from other clubs' fans as well saying, but I think it's disrespectful, because I think Joel's a lot better than some of the comments I've seen out there. And potentially his time is coming to an end with us. But I'll say this, if he doesn't go, I think he can come again. I think he showed that after the first 2 years where nothing happened for him here, and he had a lot of downside, and he was one of the best players last year. There is a player in there. I've always been convinced of that. And I see some of the players we've let go who are playing higher up, and even in the Premier League, there is a player in Joel Randall. So whatever's happened between him and the manager, that's for the manager to discuss about stuff that happened earlier in the season. I'm not going to get into dressing room stuff, but you have to understand things happen in training grounds and dressing rooms up and down the country every day of the week. So I'm not going to get into any of that, because it's not my place to get into any of that. So I'll let the manager, speak his truth on that, and Joel would speak his truth on that in future. But he's definitely one of our better players. I think the manager felt with the time now with Cricky fit, and we all think he's, we signed him as a Lee Tomlin type player in the summer, that maybe, if Joel goes, it's time to turn the keys of the team over to Cricky. Because he has that talent that we think we can harness, improve, make better. I don't think he's a million miles away either. I think Con Clark can be one of those players that can dominate this league and get better and better. So we have a lot of confidence in him. So we just felt that squad-wise, as mad as it sounds, losing a player the caliber of Joel Randall, we had a ready-made replacement in Cricky to come in and play in that slot, whether in a 4-2-3-1 or a 3-4-3 in a certain position. So that's the answer to that, Charlie.
Yeah, and just to follow up, I guess, I mean, is this a deal that we're going to take a lower price than we were in the summer than the offers, or is this a deal where we've retained the value?
I made it clear to the 2 clubs that were bidding, this is what we were offering in the summer, and he won't go unless I get that. He's on a 3-year contract. Why would I take less? So it's not quite the 20 million I envisaged I'd make in Joel Randall when we signed him, but it is. We've ended up paying, I think, Exeter over 1.2 million with appearances and with the fee and initially whatever else. So I will say that we're not going to lose any money on Joel Randall. And there's loads of add-ons as well if he catches fire, which I think he will at the new club he goes to. So that's just the way it is. It's players come and go. It is what it is.
Just on that as well, Darragh, you mentioned in your first answer about potentially letting Ricky and Hector Cipriano go in the summer, and maybe it was the right time, or it seemed to intimate that. Could there be another departure in January after Randall?
Yeah, I mean, I'm meeting with a manager on Tuesday. He had a conversation with me in December and said about certain players. If you got offers, do it. You know, we've got to do rebuilds. You know, we knew in the summer there was going to be a mini rebuild. Maybe it's bigger than we thought it would be, and we thought the next couple of windows are really important. And we want to get our act together for next year. So yeah, I'm not saying yes or no that Hector or Ricky will. The Ricky thing was we did a deal for him in the summer anyway, and the deal didn't happen for various reasons, and potentially the same club are in for him. We've asked that if a deal is done, he would come back on loan for the rest of the season. But we always sign Gustav as a ready-made replacement for Ricky. You know, we spent £500,000 on Gustav to come in, and he was always going to be that ready-made replacement for Ricky. Since then, we've had another bid from another championship club, which is one that surprised me, which was 2 days ago for Ricky. Again, we turned that down, and I was like a top 10 champ club. So he's in demand. You know, Hector will be in demand. You know, Kwame obviously was in massive demand, and I still think we'll get bids for him, even though he's not back until like the mid-Feb or the end of Feb. But we want to keep Kwame till the summer. You know, that's a given. The other ones, I'm not sure. You know, I'll speak to the manager on Tuesday. It won't be a financial decision. It will be: is it best for the club and the squad? Is it time? You know what I mean? Is it time for those players? Because the other thing as well is you're stopping some of those players maybe getting good moves, and then is their mind on the job for the rest of the season? You know, that kind of thing. And we kind of we need everyone rowing in the same boat, if that makes sense. And that's not criticism of Ricky or a Hector, but I need bodies on lines. I need everyone in the same boat going the same way. And I don't want somebody thinking, well, you know, I need to look after myself here, you know, until the summer. So that's kind of the relevance there.
Given where we are, I mean,
sure,
we're 5 points above the drop with Crawley having a game in hand on us, I think. It's something like that. Is that not quite a big risk if we're going to sell Ricky J. Jones or Hector Cipriano, given what's coming behind them? I mean, for me, they haven't shown nothing. Donny O'Brien Brady shown nothing this season. And then what else have we got up front that's going to score us goals?
You think Donny's shown nothing this season?
Not really. Not up to the level. I mean, he's not really played very much, has he? I don't think he's really done a lot.
John's on his own with that one, by the way. I think that across the rest
of
us,
I would have to call you fucking bonkers if that's you're a professional journalist, aren't you, in this business? Donny was a 10 who in the summer was turned into a 6 at our club as to fill in for Archie and develop and get in the team. I think he's played 19 or 20 times across the season. I think he's been one of the best stories of the season. I think he's done superb when he's gone in there. I think you need to go and look up the win records with Donny in that midfield, in central midfield, and have a look at the percentages. As much as I love Hector, we haven't had him for most of the season. And a lot of the big games, we won 5-1 and 6-1. He wasn't in those teams. I think you look at win records with him in the team when he has been in. I think you'd be surprised to find out, actually, some of the better results we had were when actually, and this might blow your mind, John, when Donny and Ryan were actually in the team in midfield. Someone might have to look back on that and tell me if I'm mad. But I love Archie Collins, don't get me wrong, and Archie's like one of our best players. So, and I think I'm trying to do a new deal with Archie because I think he's a big part of our future. But to say Donny hasn't had a breakout season, I'd call you fucking nuts for a 20-year-old like that. I think he's had an unbelievable breakout season. And I think there's so much more to come. So Ryan de Havilland has scrapped back from a bad injury. And has he come in and scored and made loads of goals? No. But I don't think he's as bad as you're making out. So, you know, we're pining after Hector and selling Hector while he's still here, but he hasn't been available most of the season. And now the games we have played in, we're still losing games, John. So as much as you want to pine, maybe you're pining after Hector from last season. So what I'd like to see is the Hector of last season show up, and that's what he needs to do. So, and that's what I want him to do. And I know there are big clubs always looking at him, so he now needs to find his form. He's our captain. So if nobody comes in and bids for him and he finds his form, I'll be fucking delighted with it. And we wish him well in the summer. So that's up to him now to do that. But there's no way I'm going to let someone say that Donny hasn't done well this season, or say Ryan hasn't been better than he was last year. He's definitely improved. We also have a player from Man City that's back on the 20th of January, I believe, fully fit, who hopefully has a lot of qualities as well. So I'm not as losing sleep in that area of the pitch as you are, John. as regards to where we are on the table and all of that. But look, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be proved wrong. But I certainly didn't go into the season thinking it was an area of weakness. Injuries have determined we've had to play Adonai a lot quicker than we thought. We'd have to bring Ryan in from injury a lot quicker than we thought. We didn't think Hector would be missing for 75% of the season. So, we turned down substantial money because we thought he's one of the best players in the league with Archie, and we wanted that to be our midfield. And unfortunately, we had a hamstring issue. He had other issues in the summer, which is unlike him, but he's always been very fit, a fit lad. So he's just been one of those bad bits of luck this year. We've missed some key components with injuries, like in key parts of the season. So let's see how it pans out. If the manager wants to, we're going to have to replace Hector eventually. I wanted to potentially bring that signing forward in January, but the manager said he's okay doing it in the summer. So we pretty much know who we've identified to be Hector's replacement. So that might be a summer one that will get done. If you look over the next 2 windows, what are the key areas that we have to, as we're doing the rebuild and add to the squad, we're going to have to get Hector replacement. We're going to have to potentially get a new left back. We're going to potentially have to get one more centre half. We're potentially going to have to get a Kwame replacement out wide. Another one we have a chance to do, but the manager wants to wait till the summer to do that. So, we know what we've got to do. And I know why everything's bleak, and we're, as you said, 4 points or 5 points from wherever we are in games in hand and 19th in the league and losing every game we play at the moment. My job is to look at the next 2 windows and go, right, we need to come out of the next 2 windows done and actually be in a position where we don't have to sign 5, 6, 7 new players every summer, because I'm fed up with that. And I want to be in a position where I don't have to sell 3 or 4 players every single summer. So, we've seen the churn and it's been too much. And we're all agreed that if we have a good 2 windows next and a decent window this month, there won't be a massive churn in the summer. And we need to get back to selling that one striker for 4, 5, 6 million that pretty much takes care of the bills, instead of having to sell 2 players or 3 players, where it does hurt your squad, if that makes sense. So we know what we got to do. We've got a lot of work on the to-do list. And obviously, not winning at the moment doesn't help us with that. So, what was the question, by the way? I've started going on about defending Donna as John started attacking him. What was the question?
Basically, do you think it's a risk to sell them in this situation?
Yeah. I don't think us being in League One will be dependent on Hector staying or going. And I don't think the same regards Ricky, because I think I love Ricky. I do. I'm a massive fan. Of course, I'd love to keep him. I think Gustav will be very good for us. I think Bradley will be very good for us. And I think we have some very good attackers at the club. But I do love Rick, and I'd love him to stay on if we do sell him and we get him back on loan. So, because I actually think it's his breakout season where I think he'll score, more goals than he did last year. And he was on line for that bar the last 3 or 4 games. So, and we've changed formation and played a lot of games. And I think, he's played a lot of minutes. And I think it's killed him. You know what I mean? So, but I still think, would I love to keep him? Would I love to keep Hector? Of course I would. But I'm a realist as well, because Hector's out of contract in the summer. He's over 24 because his birthday's in May or June. So I have to do what's right for the club. And if the manager deems it'll be fine and we've got strength and depth in that area with everyone fit, we'll do the business on him if the right offer comes in.
So I wanted to go back to last summer and ask a question.
Sure.
And I'm going to sort of give a little out, because I disagree with lots of Posh fans saying about the signing that we've made have been shit, other than maybe, let's say,
Sure.
Curtis and Sparks. I think that the players that we've got in Nevitt and Wallin, they will grow and they will show potential. Hayes has been good. Otto hasn't been fantastic. The question that I want to ask is were the expectations set wrong by yourself, by Ian, by Barry, by the manager? Because even on Christmas Day, we got a video from Barry saying, I hope it's going to be a promotion new year. Ian came out and said something about, hopefully we're going for the playoffs and things like that. And it's just so clear, it seems, to everybody that we're nowhere near that. The signings are not near that. They may be there in 2-3 years' time, but at the moment they're not. So was it just a case of we've just got it wrong, and we shouldn't have come out and said we're going to be challenging for the title and challenging for promotion again?
I don't remember anyone saying we were challenging for the title in the summer. We stopped doing that last year. I didn't come out and say we were challenging for the title this summer. So you'd have to pull me up where I said we were challenging for the title. What I've always said is, and I'll continue to always say, every year we're in League One, my expectations for us for always to be aiming for promotion, 100%. It's not like we sign a load of free signings. you know, the investment we make in the team, we always expect to challenge for promotion. So I've been doing this 19 years. We knew in the summer we'd be bringing in players that potentially it could take year 2 before we saw the best of them. But I'm not going to come out and turn around and say, look, we're going to be really happy with 19th in the league after Christmas, or we're going to be happy with mid-table. I'm never going to do it. So that's something that pisses everyone off. I'm not going to apologize either. I'm not built that way, because my expectation will always be, it might take a while to get going in the building, but I would expect by the second half of the year, we rock and roll. What I didn't expect was to, look, miss some key pieces at key moments. And it's not an excuse, but it is fact. Everyone likes to go on about it. Someone said the other day there was an accusation of scapegoat or cheapskating. That really fucking winds me up, because we signed the best available left back in the Football League outside the Championship. We did. We spent £500,000 on him. Is he a Harrison Burrows? No. But I remember 2 seasons ago, I don't know if it was you, John, or other fans I was arguing with, I said Harrison Burrows was a left back. You all said, a lot of you said, no, he wasn't, and we needed a left back. And I always said, actually, he's a left back. And I remember last Christmas, fans digging out Harrison on the pitch. They're still moaning. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the point I'm making is, we signed a ready-made replacement for H. 23-year-old from Crewe, a leader, someone we thought was a future captain, played 50 games a year, if you believe it or not, on average, phenomenal physicality, and we thought he would just slot in seamlessly. We then signed, we felt, one of the best young left-sided centre-halves, Ronnie-esque in time, not straight away, that we thought wouldn't play every game, but would play maybe half of the season, would come in and out, dig in and out. We had Manny, who we felt was going to have a real breakout season. And then obviously we signed the Swede. And with Donnelly, you know, signing Katongo, and just to go through the financials, when I hear the words like cheapskate, you know, 500 grand on a left back, 400 grand on a future young left-sided centre half, 200 grand on a Swede, and 250 grand package to bring Katongo back. And now over 300 odd grand for a right back. Do the numbers on what's been spent on the back line. You can argue, yes, they haven't come off. You can argue we've got a horrible defensive record. You can argue all those facts, but don't ever say I cheapskated. Don't ever say that we haven't invested in the squad, which we did in the summer. We felt it would be messy in the first half of the season, messy in a way that would be 12th to 10th. And then we felt January, within earshot, we'd get rocking and rolling and go. What we didn't think we'd do is lose so many players and key players. We didn't think Hector would be missing most of the season. We didn't think the left back would be out for the whole season. When we got the call about the left back to say he was out till November, all of us were on the phone. Me, Barry, and the manager. I forget what non-league game we were playing a friendly against in the summer. And we got a phone call that Jack Sparks was available. He was on his way to sign for, I believe it was Cambridge at the time. And we were all in a tailspin. We hadn't done the Katongo deal. We hadn't sorted out the right back. We've just lost our number one left back. You know, what do we need? We need a player who knows League One. We need a player who's really capable of making goals as well as defending. We needed a player basically that, you know, wasn't 18, 19, 20, but a player maybe that was more 22 to 25. And then suddenly this player, Sparks, comes available, who just played 40 times in a League One winning side in League One, was 4th in assists from left back last year. A lot of metrics were very good. We'd seen him ourselves, and we dived in. And if you're all telling me you wouldn't have made that signing, well, I'm probably going to get you to sit in a lie detector test, because I'm sure every single person would have made that signing, which we felt was okay. He was expensive. His wages were expensive. It might hurt us in the cap, but he'd be good. He'd be a good fill-in until Rio was back. And then him and Rio could argue over that position, whoever's doing the best. And then we had young Harley, who we felt in 2025 would break through. But maybe we needed Harley to go out and get games. So that was the thing over the left back. We didn't envisage some of the things that would happen. We certainly didn't envisage losing so many good players to injury, which has just constantly hurt us, where we've had to change our back line, change our starting 11, change the way we've had to play. It's been a constant kick in the teeth. We had a 94% retention rate last year in injuries. And this year, it's just gone the opposite way. And you can turn around and go, well, is it the sports science people's fault? Is it our physio's fault? And then you look at it and go, well, actually, if you look at a lot of the injuries, some of them have been non-contact, some of them have been non-muscle. So you can't blame anything on sports science. You know, you've just been unlucky. You know, Rio obviously got injured in the preseason game and chipped his cartilage. So that's nothing to do with our fitness. A couple of the players have come in on loans. It's because of their preseason training with their club before they came to us. So they suddenly got injuries when they came in, because maybe their minutes weren't right or whatever the levels were, because they're under 21 players. And then you could blame us. Poku's done his hamstring. Hector did his hamstring. You know, those players, you can go, that's on us. That's on us issue. I don't like seeing it. You know, and it's another reason I'm having a big chat with everyone on Tuesday, the sports science staff, that we can't keep going on without our best players available. It's driving me up the fucking wall. I'm sure it's driving my manager up the wall. But we didn't envisage those things to happen. So I'm still very optimistic about the signings we made in the summer. You go through the signings, you're absolutely right. Ashley, you went through there. I think Keane's, was a young punt that we took. We saw a player in there. There's a bit of character in there. He's not Kwame Poku, but if you watched him against Wrexham playing left wing back and the work he was doing and the bollocks he showed where you thought, shit, he needs to come off in the 80th minute. He's knackered. Then suddenly he gets switched out wide right because we're chasing the game, and suddenly he's beating people and running down the right again. He's got something. He's got something. I like Keane. He's got spunk. He's got balls. And he's got skills. And I think he's only played less than 10 games and he's got goals and assists already. So it was an impossible task where you're backing up Kwame Poku and you're not going to get lots of game time. Now he's been put in under pressure when the team's not doing well and expected to lift us through. But I still think there's a player in there. I look at Ibby. I think Ibby's he's been brilliant off the bench. I think when he's got his starts, he hasn't taken his chances. And I think what Ibby needs to do is Malik's had a bad run of games, but Malik's been good. And then the last 4 or 5 games, Malik, call it tired, call it whatever. I hate the criticism of players like Malik. I hate seeing my players leave Twitter. And I look at it and go, Malik's 20. I think he's 21. And I sometimes just want to wrap my arms around him because he's a great lad. He's a good lad. He's an honest lad. He's not a bad one of them bad ones where you think, oh, he's a problem. He doesn't go out intentionally not to play well. He doesn't go out intentionally to miss from 5 yards. He doesn't go out intentionally to... I know he's had his little social media spats with everyone. He puts stuff up there. And I always say to my players, if you're going to put it out there, you got to be able to take it. And look at me on social media. I can take it and I can give it back. I can give a shit what people say. Knowing my own kids who are 19, 18 and 16, young people of that generation are built differently. I'm sorry, they just are. They just, a lot of them can't take some of the stuff that comes at them on social media. Me at that age, I'd have a cannon out. I'd have no problem with it. You know what I mean? So it's just a different generation. But I honestly think Ibby, there is a player in there. It hasn't quite come off. There's been spells where he's good, and then there's other spells where you got your start now, go out and dominate the game, and he hasn't quite taken the mantle and done it, But I still think there's a good player in there. So I know everyone wants to say the recruitment was totally shit in the summer. I'd still argue and go, John, would you have turned down re-signing Katonga?
No, at the time I wouldn't have done.
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. You would have signed him at the time.
I would have signed him, but it is also hard to say
anything
better than playing average, given where we are in the league.
I'm not disagreeing on Jadal. Jadal will be the first to say he's been nothing like he was last year. He's been way below his own standard, and he needs to pull his socks up and do a lot more for the investment that was made in him and the opportunity and chance that was given to him. But I think everyone would agree. Everyone thought it was a bit of a coup when we brought him back. And we thought, okay, centre back, right back, and play in midfield. The midfielder for Man City. I don't know if any of you seen him play or seen some of it. Unbelievable for our level. Did we think in his first full start or whatever else that he'd go and tear a muscle off his leg when he takes a shot on fucking goal? No. Would you have thought at the time it was a bad signing?
Didn't know anything about him, so no.
Okay, didn't know anything about him. Okay. Did anyone think Con Clark was a bad signing?
Well, I mean, we can go through it all, but the thing is, none of us are scouting these players.
Okay, I just want you on record, that's all, because I know down the line I'll be able to refer back to him. When everyone goes on about bad recruitment, does anyone think Con Clark won't be a phenomenal player for the club? Just put that on record now.
No, I think he looks bright. I think he looks a good player.
Does anyone think George Neville will be a bad player for our club?
I think no is the answer, but I think that the issue is, and what lots of people are saying is that we allegedly made lots of money in the summer on player sales and then in January as well. They were our 3 best players last season. We haven't replaced them immediately. We've replaced them in 2 years' time.
No, but we did replace Harrison immediately. Just the player got fucking badly injured that was replaced.
But we obviously we don't know that, do we?
Well, you do. You saw the injury in the summer. We spent 500 grand to replace Harrison Burroughs, and the player that replaced him ripped his fucking cartilage. So you do know that. And we went out and got a temporary replacement or another replacement. What would you have done differently?
Well, the thing is, and we go back to Katongo. Was he good because of Josh Knight and Ronnie Edwards, and the ability that those two had? And we lost those two, and obviously we lost Josh Knight on a free. So although we didn't make any money on him, we lost. Let's go to 4 players now, 5 players if you include JCH as well. And certainly the fan base don't feel like those have been replaced.
Oh, JCH stopped playing for us November last year, so I'm not sure about replacing him. But I understand what you're saying.
Even in the dressing room, because that's what it feels like. JCH is the same age as me, and he always looked like he G'd them up. I think that's the thing is you might say otherwise, which would obviously be the insight that we're after, but he always felt like he would come on the pitch and he would either get the crowd going or get the players going. And it feels like we don't have that player at the moment. So is there somebody that we've got our eyes on that will get the players up? Because Johnston looks like he can do that. He looks like he can go for 110% of a game. But it feels like there's that real like crowd booster. A right back's not a crowd booster. Like Gary Neville said, nobody wants to be a right back when they grow up, do they? Like nobody gets off their seat for a right back other than maybe Mark Little 15 years ago.
I understand what you're saying. I honestly think what's happened is, a lot of the players we signed, we felt by the second half of the year would be great, and then year 2 would be superb. Equally, like, people go back about the investment and replacing those players. Ronnie Edwards, Harrison Burrows, and Josh Knight collectively cost us 380 grand to bring in. So it's not always about, the investment. It's not always about the money you spend. It's about the player. I'd also argue that some of those players, Josh Knight probably played his best football at the last year of his contract for us because he was in and out of the team prior to that. Ronnie, obviously, we gave time to break in. We bedded him in during that promotion season. And then H, as I said to you guys, some of you arguing the season he won player of the year that he wasn't a left back. And there were a lot of people arguing that. And we finally put him in. And that summer, there was a debate about, do we sign another left back to compete with Harrison? Do you know what I mean? And do some people see Harrison as a midfielder? Well, he played the whole season as left back, and now he's, I think, one of the best left backs in the championship. So, ideally, we'd be sitting here in January going, right, some of those younger players have come in and out of the team since the summer. We haven't overplayed them. They've shown their potential. Now we're going to see a bit more of them in the second half of the season, then they'll be great next year. We talk about characters and leaders and losing Clark Harris out of the dressing room and da-da-da-da-da. Well, the manager wanted to go a different way a year ago after Sheffield Wednesday. I totally agreed with him. It went against what we were trying to do with young players, where you had older heads at the time who they weren't having a go at the younger players, but they were making it really difficult for younger players to come in and play with freedom because the younger players made a mistake. It was frowned upon. It was fawned on. It was this. It was that. It wasn't about picking standards up. It became the opposite of that. So we were happy with what we did. We felt this season that some of the players we had, we thought Manny character-wise is a leader in there. They'll stand up. What's happened defensively, the mistakes, the stuff that's gone on, the results and whatever else has probably made it a bit more difficult for him, this season to be that leader you want him to be. Are we looking to bring in an experienced player? Sure. The manager wants an experienced defender. That's fine, no problem at all. And I've got no issue with that. We've tried, we're making bids. But experienced defenders, two things. One, they're expensive if they're coming from the champ. I haven't got a problem with that. You heard before we came on the podcast, I've agreed deals with champ clubs for certain players. The second problem we've got is because where we now find ourselves, they don't want to come. They don't want to come. So they'd rather go to the top end of League One and fight for a promotion. So they're suddenly looking at us going, well, actually, we've got clubs in the top 6, top 7 in League One. We'd rather go there. So what do? Sign the wrong ones or sign the right ones? So there's two in particular we were looking at. One to sign one only, but there's two we were looking at. And, we're at that time where one, the club won't let him go. And the second one has said, we're in the running, but there's two other clubs and their club's looking to get promotion. So do you not think that's a dagger to my heart getting turned down because we're not at the top end of League One? This is what we're dealing with. So, of course, we want to sign an experienced defender and someone to come in and help. But I think we can help ourselves as well. There's a lot of quality in our squad. And I think at some stage we have to start winning games. That includes the players, the management, myself. We all have to be better and get out of this rut and start going about doing our business the way we do our business on the pitch. And I think we've had an horrendous, 6-7 weeks now. We've lost far too many games we didn't show up in, too many games we've made the same mistakes in, too many games where we're not at it like we should be at it. And we have to turn the needle on that now. I've always said I've got the best in class. I still believe that. I still believe I've got phenomenal coaches, a phenomenal manager, and everyone needs to show that now. And we've all got to be at our best. So will there be more signings this month? Of course there will be. We're going to do our best, to steady the ship and have a much improved second half of the season. None of what we're serving up at the moment, results-wise, is what I like or what I want for us, for our fans. So I can only work my tail off to change that. And I know the manager and the staff will do the same.
Yeah, so I guess my question to follow up on that is, you spoke about how you feel that, we were going to kick on after January and we were going to be, 8th to 10th up until that point, I think you said.
Sure.
Why were you willing to accept that? Is my question. Why is that something that we were willing to accept happening? And if you felt that we were going to get some experience in maybe in January, why didn't we just do it in the summer? Or has there been some sort of big FFP thing that's changed since then?
No. So the reason I thought, if you're saying to me, why weren't you more ambitious to be hired in 8th or 10th? I'm always ambitious. I want to win the league every year. But I'm also a realist to realize that there's a few big spenders. Is the sound gone? Oh, I'm also a realist to realize that there was a few big spenders in the summer in this league. There were a few clubs that were going out there and paying the kind of wages we could never even touch. And those clubs are, we're not even talking about clubs getting 20, 30,000 a week. And that upended things in the summertime, from a financial perspective. I just felt with the players we were bringing in that it might take to the second half in year 2. That wasn't me surrendering any ambition about wanting to be promoted. You don't think Darren wants to be at a club where he doesn't feel he has a chance of being promoted? You don't think I haven't spent money without thinking I have a chance of being promoted? But if I'd come out in the summer and said, yeah, we're gonna outdo Birmingham, we're gonna outdo, Huddersfield, we're gonna outdo this club, we're gonna outdo that club, knowing that we were bringing in new players, knowing there was a mini rebuild, which has turned into a bigger rebuild in the summer, I just don't think it would have been the right message. And I've been criticised heavily in the past for being OTT with my aspirations going into every season. So the manager always said to me in the last 8, just don't go overboard in the summer. Don't come out and say these things. I'm like, fine, no problem. I have no problem with that at all. The second part to your question about experience, there was no experience wanted in the summer. There was no big concerted effort. We felt we'd be okay, and we'd revisit it if we had to in January. We've gone down this, and I agreed with it, and the manager's on board with it. I'm on board with it. We've gone down this route of a younger team, using our academy, buying younger players. We just felt we'd be okay. We didn't think we'd get the kick in the nuts we've had. We didn't think we'd lose some key pieces for so long. So that's changed. Obviously, mid-December was when the conversation was, look, how do we improve some of these defenders? How do we get some of these younger players better? Okay, let's get an experienced centre-half who's playing to come in alongside them, but one with a great character, one that knows his job is going to be, whether it's 6 months or 18 months, you're going to improve Nevitt. You're going to improve Manny. You're going to improve Oscar. That's your job. That's your only job. And if you do it really well, there's going to be a role on the coaching staff for you afterwards. So that's the only time that conversation's kind of come up, has been middle of December onwards. So that wasn't a faux pas from the summer where we needed to sign an experienced defender and we just didn't get any. That's a new thing. So as usual, I pivot because we have to pivot, and we're going to try and do that.
I think this question sort of follows on from that, and it was probably the most asked question that we had in, and it was basically, and this maybe is a lack of understanding of FFP among the fans. I don't know. But basically, We've obviously, as fans, we see a big sell-on fee come in from Ivan Toney, Smodics, Taylor's gone, Burrows has gone for decent money, Ronnie Edwards went for decent money, Mason Clark went for decent money. Yet we're near our FFP cap, and we seemingly can't, pay big wages. What is how does that work?
We pay good wages. So
okay.
don't fall into the trap. We don't pay good wages. We pay good wages for a club our size. So how does it work? You're allowed to spend X amount of what you bring in commercially. So I went through this in the pod recently. I went through it in the summer. All the money we've brought in. Yeah, brought in money from Mason Clark, brought in money from Ronnie, from Harrison, Salons, or whatever else. You've always got to remember on the money. A, it's not always paid up front. Sometimes we factor it. B, there's sell-ons to the clubs they came from, except in Harrison's case, there was no sell-on. C, we then go out and spend money as well. And D, we have a running loss every year in the region of 4 to 5 million cash flow hole every year that needs to be plugged. So, and we have debts from before, as you know. And I had to steady the ship and do deals in those debts, and we have payment plans. So all of the money that's been brought in, a good chunk of it's been spent on transfer fees. I think the last count was, with the recent deal we did, 2.8 million. We spent 2.8 million in transfer fees since the summer. Would you call that a lot of money for a club our size in League One? Forget about what we brought in. Would you call that a lot of money for a club our size?
Yes, a sizable amount. I would, yes.
Yeah, sizable amount. So that's us reinvesting in the squad. And we're not going to do that every summer. The idea behind that is over 2 or 3 windows, we might spend 2.8, 3, 3.5, and then we're done for a couple of years. That's the whole idea. Then you're signing maybe 1 or 2 players, but you're not going OTT. You're done. You've got a squad. You've invested. You got some good assets. You got some good players. We're going to improve them. They're going to get better, and we'll sell them for millions. I'm joking. So that was the way it was done. But what we brought in versus what we've spent, the balance is left to pay the club bills. The balance is left to pay debts. You know, this thing about, well, Darren must get the money, or that money must go to somebody. You know, well, no, the Fleetwood deal I've funded myself to bring the right back in. So the experienced defender we're going to have to bring in, I'm going to fund that myself. So there's no money left over from the transfers in the summer. You know, I'll have to fund anything we do. I have no problem doing that. You know, like I've done for 19 years. You know, I've always stepped up when I've needed to step up. And that's it, an answer. How does it work to regards financial fair play? So you're allowed to spend, I think it's 60% of what you bring in. There are rules, there's perimeters around it, there's certain things under 20, what doesn't count, what does count. There's like 20 different rules. They've just done a vote now to even change it, believe it or not. We're now under 21 players are now going to count as well, as regards towards the wage cap. Before, we could pluck players from under 21s, Donny O'Brien, who you don't love, John, and we could put him in our first team squad, and that wouldn't go against our wage cap. Well, now that's going to go against our fucking wage cap. Managers' wages and staff wages, all those things that go against your cap. You know, my management staff aren't cheap. They're well paid. They're well paid for a reason, because they're full of winners, and I feel they're the best out there for where we are in League One and the project we have. So trying to make all that work, Dawn will tell me what we can do, what we can't do. So, for example, I was able to do the Fleetwood thing, forget the transfer fee, just the wages alone on the boy going back to Sheffield United, and they recalled him with the freedom that have freed up space. If Jack Sparks goes out, and we've had a couple of offers for him as well, we'll potentially get another left back in, who will basically compete with Harley when he comes back from his ridiculous red card that should never have been a red card. He will compete with whoever we bring in. An experienced centre back, maybe funded with another player leaving, or Joel goes or whatever else, it frees up space. I can't go out and sign 11 new players. You know, and could I go out and sign 11 players on 500 quid a week? Yeah, of course I could. You know, but I can't go out and buy a player and sign a player with wages. So the other thing is, if Adji Boy goes out in a permanent, if Romany goes out in a permanent, that will free up space too. But right now we're at the limit of what we can do. That's not me lying. That's not me trying to hide behind anything. I've just gone out and spent that money with Fleetwood because I made it happen. Do you know what I mean? And I knew we'd, like, you know, we did the Gustav deal based on Ricky potentially going as well. So, you know, everyone's forgetting about that. I've got a 500 grand striker in the building that hasn't played for us yet, that I signed in the summer. So that all goes in your cap, and he's not cheap, and his wages aren't cheap. So, you know, we're competitive. Are we paying the wages that maybe Wrexham are throwing around to some players? No, but we're not £5 grand a week off it. We're like maybe £2 grand a week off it. You know, I'll give you an example. We had a player in the summer we'd tracked since the end of May, and he was a centre half. And we did the deal in June. We'd worked on the deal for 4 weeks. The player was travelling down. The player was agreed. The contract was agreed. He was coming down for a medical. It was all done. And the club came out of nowhere. And basically, we were paying him, let's just say, for an argument's sake, we were paying him 3-7 a week. And this club just came in and just said, we'll give you 6-7 a week. Nobody else was in for him. And they just came in and just went, yeah, we'll give you £3 grand more a week. And I was like, as he's in his car coming to us. So it happens. You know, I'm not crying about it. I'm not moaning about it. I'm trying to explain to you that some of the things that have happened have never happened before. And that's happening now all the time. So we just have to get creative on it. It's fine. We pivot. You know what I mean? But I wasn't going to turn around and go, yeah, no problem, I'll give you the same. Because I can't do that. You know what I mean? I have a squad I have to make work. You know what I mean? What we've got. I can't go out and just go spending 6, 7, 8, 9 grand a week on players, because A, we'd break the rules, and B, we'd be bankrupt. So, you know, I've got to work with what I've got. I've got to generate with what I've got. We sold a 14-year-old in our academy in the summer on purpose to fund one of the deals coming in. And the reason I did that was because we were at the cap. This great 14-year-old, his head was turned anyway. He wasn't going to sign a pro deal. And we needed to free up, I think it was 300 grand in cap space, or 350. And we did it on purpose so we could register this player coming in. It was going to be in our first team. That's, you know, that's what you got to do.
And just me again, just quickly. This is sort of a two-part question, but could you confirm how much of the debt has been paid off from the money we've been brought in, or if any has been paid off? Because obviously there was them figures that were coming out, which were quite substantial at one stage. I think the debt was, at least it was being reported that way. And when you look at the pitch and you sort of see the product on offer, and you see what you spent, and I agree, you've spent a decent amount of money on this football team. There's nearly £3 million worth of players on that pitch. do you feel a bit let down because you're going up against teams like Mansfield who haven't spent anywhere near that money and getting completely outplayed on your own patch? So do you feel let down when you watch stuff like that?
I don't feel let down. I'm not let down by my manager. I feel angry. I feel irritated. And it's no disrespect to Mansfield or to other clubs or whatever else who were having great seasons and having that season. I remember years and years ago arguing with a Posh fan about, I think it might have been Ian Gow. Gillingham were top of League One. He was telling me how shit I was and how great Gillingham were and how great their manager was, great their owner was, and blah, 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 blah. And I just, football's like, what would the right word be? It goes in cycles. I just know since then, Gillingham have ended up in League Two. We've ended up going to the champ, coming back, competing again at the top of League One, winning another trophy, doing really well. But at that time, to the fan, it was like Gillingham were a much better run football club than us. Just Gillingham had a Phoenix season. They had that one-off great season that some clubs can have. I feel every year we've always had those kind of seasons in League One and competed. This year, obviously, we've kicked ourselves in the bollocks. A lot of things have happened to us. I don't feel let down. I watched the Mansfield game and I felt for my young players. I felt, it was horrible. I felt, 3 of the back 4 were teenagers. Because of illness, because of injuries, we had no choice but to play them. I felt, it was unfair to them because they're better players than they showed. I thought we were better against Barnsley, but again, you're thinking, why can't we beat Barnsley? And it's like, it's not Real Madrid coming to our place and we lose the game. There's so many mitigating circumstances. I don't feel let down. I love my staff. I love my players. I think my fans have been brilliant. All our fans have been brilliant this year. The away support's been phenomenal. I think the fans, you could give the fans, latitude to basically just be non-stop booing us all the time because of the games we've lost. That would be only fair for what they've seen. So we now have to basically pay that back. We have to get on our bike. We have to do well in the trophy. We have to shoot up the league. We have to, from now till the summer, show everyone that a lot of the players we brought in are going to be really good next year. We've got to show everyone that we mean business, that we want to go into next season, that we want to be the front runners next season. But talking about it and doing it are two different things. So that's what we've got to do over the next 20 odd games, or however many games are left, is basically put the product on and show everyone, not that there's hope, but that there's a heartbeat, that there's life in us or whatever else, because I know there is. I know how good we can be. We have to show that we're coming out the other side of all the shit we've been dealing with. And we've got to show improvement. We've got to show growth. Those younger players that we brought in have now got to show growth themselves and stand up. Players who haven't played as well need to do the same. And we need to give our fans something to hang on to for next season. That's really important now. So, yeah, again, like I said, I'm not, angry is a word to describe it, but not let down, because I've been in football long enough to know these things can happen. And it's just so happened this season's happened to us. In answer to your question about debt, yeah, the debt serviceable every year. I know there's figures rolling around about us on 18 million and this, that, whatever else. I think we're down under 8 at the moment. But did loads of the transfer money from the summer go towards it? No. A lot of it's been on payment plans. Some of it I've paid off, some of it I've written off. Do you know what I mean? So we're down to a manageable level, but we still carry too much debt. The other thing as well we carry is our overheads have gone through the roof. Since COVID, the overheads are silly. And I always moan about that and whatever else. And we need to look, I loved us when we were a club that lost 2.5 million a year. I'd sell a Craig McCall-Smith and we'd still be fine and we'd operate and we'd be good and whatever else. When you get to the 4s and 5s, it's too much. It's too much. Unless our crowds are 20,000 a week, 4 to 5 every year is too much. It's too much to lose. So, and it's too much where you have to sell 2 players or maybe 3 players, or if you get lucky with one, that's great. So it's far too much money. So my goal has always been, since that Athletic article 18 months ago, or whenever it was, that we were going into administration, we were going out of business, blah, 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 blah. Since that article, we've had 2 playoff campaigns. We've won a cup. We've competed. We've sold players. We've reduced debt. And none of those things happened they talked about. And it's always been my thing, as I promised at the time they wouldn't happen, is I keep the car on the road and I keep trying to improve things as best I can. We've spent money also that we haven't mentioned infrastructure-wise, not just the mega store that people will moan about. That was spent on purpose to help with the 60% rule. That was spent to help us with revenue. That was helped us so we wouldn't always be handicapped by with more turnover. We also spent hundreds of thousands of pounds in pitches this summer at the training ground. We spent another 200 grand on our current pitch. So there's always infrastructural improvements being made and money spent in that people don't see it and people moan. Like, what was the comment? The girls in the shop were telling me they were getting all the time and it really got them down. Why don't you buy a new back 4 with the 600 grand you put into the shop? And I said to the girls, well, that's probably some 15-year-old in his mum's basement wanking off the, Pornhub every day. So sorry, Charlie. So at the end, that was a joke, by the way. At the end of the day, that 600 grand couldn't have been spent on players anyway. So it was spent for a very reason, to make us, bigger revenue wise and turnover wise. So, I still want to reduce debts. There's a lot of good things still happening in our football club, and it kills me because there's so many good people, non-football side, doing such a great job. Whether it's commercial, whether it's done, whether it's people behind the scenes, whether it's the marketing team. So much of our product, I know Ashley likes to pull everyone up on spelling mistakes and spelling errors and different things, whatever. And you probably give Clive fucking nightmares every night, and Phil occasionally as well. Stop chewing your nails, Charlie. It's a bad habit. So I'm worse than you, by the way, watching games. So it's just one of them things where I get it. We're not in a good moment, and it could get worse, it could get better. We're not in a good moment, but I'm not running for the hills, and I'm not waving white flags. And the one thing I know is football changes. This time last year, you'll all remind me, we beat Derby, we were second in the league, we were flying, we were doing great. Who's to say in 12 months' time we won't be in a much better position? So nobody's died. This is the game we're in. This is the game I chose to buy into. This is the thing I decided to sign up for. And no one ever said it was going to be perfect or ideal. I can only get on with doing the best job I can. If that's not good enough, it's not good enough. That's the way it goes. I'll try and find a fake shake. I'll try and find a Russian Logalark that's not had his accounts frozen, and sell the club for many millions and let them have a spin at it if that's what people want. As a joke, by the way.
I'll follow up with a question about recruitment. Going back, you talk a lot, and we've spoken a lot about over the last year about sort of the identity and the way that we want to play now. You spoke about how everyone through the academy plays the same way, and I've seen it myself. I've watched the academy play. It's a 4-2-3-1. You've got midfielders that come and get the ball off the centre halves. That's the style of football. And I think, it doesn't take a genius to work out that in recent weeks, recent months, even maybe, we've deviated quite a lot from that style of play. We're now
Last
playing, but it's not been flowing as it was last season. It's become quicker, become more counter-attacking. It's become a bit deeper. First of all, I guess it's a two-parter. As an owner, does that frustrate you? Because does it not change the blueprint slightly? And second of all, what are we recruiting for now? Are we recruiting for a 4-2-3-1? Are we recruiting to play a back five? What is the current plan?
Back five. I like to call them the 3-4-3. Basically, yeah, you're absolutely right. We do have an identity, and it's not basically 4-2-3-1. It's based on midfielders who can dominate possession, dominate the ball. It's on wide players that are quick and rapid. It's fullbacks who can go beyond the winger. It's strikers that are quick, mobile, who will basically press and run 10, 11K a game. We haven't suddenly thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Unfortunately, we've had to change, I think, straight at the back the last 3 games that's happened. Yes, it's happened in game in some games. We've been losing because the manager wants to try something differently or whatever else. But, I dare say you'll see a lot more of the 4-2-3-1 when personnel is back, and when we have signings we can make. When we, because at the moment, I suppose he would look at it and go, well, if Sparks goes out the door and say he doesn't want to put him in the squad, if he wants to go 4-2-3-1, he's playing Keane as a left back if Harley's suspended or if Harley's not ready yet. So a lot of that maybe personnel is dictating that, injuries dictating some of that. But if you were to ask me, what do I think we'd be playing by the time the season ends, I'd probably put a money on it. It would be a 4-2-3-1. It would be a 4-3-3. It would be maybe a 4-diamond-2, more so than 3 at the back. I personally don't think we have the personnel for 3 at the back. We didn't recruit for it. We don't have the full backs for, 3 at the back. And we have a lot of wingers. So, like I said to you, I think it will change, but I don't pick the team. But based on conversations with the manager, I understand why he's done it the last couple of games, and he had to change something. What I think you might see, you might see a lot more 3 at the back away from home, and you might see a lot of the 4 at the back at home. I think we might have to become a home and away team with 2 different formations. If you look at our away form, we're losing 6 in a row, and you might disagree with that, Charlie, but you can't, if you're a manager, you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. It's a definition of insanity, where you basically played 6 away games in a row and lost every game. And I think after the Stockport game, the manager's probably gone, I need to try something different. I need to go away from home, maybe just to knock out a couple of wins away from home to get back to being us. So, but I'm a firm believer in being us, and that's our identity, and that's what we're doing. So naturally losing football games, having issues, it knocks people's confidence. Things change. People try other things. Again, I don't pick the formation, but I never thought I'd be a fan of 4-2-3-1 because I remember 19 years ago moaning if we ever played one up top. But the way we've played the last kind of 18 months, I've loved the product. I love the way we play. We've recruited to that style, and I dare say we'll continue to recruit to that style.
Yeah, and you spoke there about the product, and one of the things that we were asked about again in the viewer questions quite a lot is season ticket pricing.
Sure,
We believe that it's going to go up next season. The pricing,
sure.
it's the end of the freeze, and that would be all well and good. But right now, obviously, the product's not at its best. The football's not the best to watch, and whether we like it or not, there is a possibility that we might not be in League One next season.
I still
Going
believe in
down,
a
I mean.
promotion run.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking the other way with a bit of trepidation still, and I think a lot of Posh fans are. Is that price increase something that would still happen if the next season's different to what we were expecting? If it's not going to be one where we get promoted, or if it's going to be one in League Two?
Absolutely, 100%. It'll go up. We've given some great football the last few years. We spent a lot of money, and the price has been frozen after the COVID thing. And I understand what you're saying, but there's no guarantee when you buy a season ticket that you're going to be buying a ticket to watch promotion football, relegation football, wonderful football, Brazil football. It's like me saying, well, you paid X amount last year. Can you give me 20% more right now as a payback for last year? There's no guarantee with that, Charlie. So at the end of the day, you on one hand, you're saying, well, why aren't you signing more players, or why aren't you doing this, or why aren't we paying more wages? And then on the other hand, saying, well, cut me some slack here. Like at the end of the day, we're trying our best. We're trying to put good product out in the field. We've had a ropey 5 months. I get it, 5.5 months, but we've had a pretty good couple of years before that. Unfortunately, football is all about what have you done for me recently. And I get it. I understand that too. It's all about winning. It's all about results. I'm pretty confident the results will come. I'm pretty confident the product will come as well. We scored a lot of goals in 2024. We did a lot of great things. We had a shitty end to the year. I'm hoping 2025 will be really good. And I haven't given up on anything. I'm not talking about promotion. I'm talking about winning games, scoring goals, the product being good and playing well. I don't think we played badly against Burton. I thought we played quite well. I don't think we played badly against Wrexham. I thought we played okay. Would I call it champagne football? No. But I wouldn't call it turgid football. And I certainly wouldn't say it gives a reason to give a discount on ticket prices, because some of the football's been a bit off, or the results have been off. We go out and try and do our best every game, and the intention is to score loads of goals and win games. There are clubs out there who haven't delivered on anything for like 10 years, still put their prices up every year. So that's the way it is. So that doesn't make you happy on the answer, Charlie. I'm sorry.
So just to clarify, you feel that even if we were relegated, and that's not me trying to manifest it into existence, but
You
even
just
if we
keep
were
mentioning that
relegated,
word.
I don't think I'm the only one. I'm definitely not the only one, actually. It's a word that's
Fair
being
enough.
mentioned a lot by a lot of Posh fans, and we are a podcast by the fans for the fans. Would the prices still go up if we got relegated?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's something I think I disagree with, and I think that's an interesting take.
Should they go up with promotion?
I think it would be a lot more reasonable for them to go up with promotion. Yeah, I think I'd pay a lot more for a Premier League ticket than I would for a Championship ticket, and more for a Championship ticket than League One. Same way, I'd pay more for a League One ticket than a League Two ticket. And I think that if we go down and the prices go up, that doesn't match up in my view.
Do you think the prices should have gone up the last 2 years, where inflation's killed everyone, including the club?
No, but then there was COVID, and then there was also times where, and we didn't get promoted in the last 2 seasons, did we? We stayed in League One, so the prices stayed flat.
Didn't stay flat; they stayed the same. So what I'm saying is do you not think with inflation, and you've seen inflation and what's happened in the last 2 years, do you not think prices should have gone up?
Not really. I mean, I think I would have understood it more over the last 2 years, and I'd understand it going up next season after a relegation, definitely.
Right. Okay. So you just think like football clubs shouldn't match what's happening with inflation in society? If you have
I
to
don't
pay
think
your
that's what I'm
staff more
saying at
money,
all.
okay, we just said no. There shouldn't have been any price rise the last 2 years.
I don't think that's what I'm saying at all. But you pay a product, and a League Two football season ticket is as good of a product as a League One football season ticket.
Okay. So what should we charge in League Two?
I would understand it not going down, but I think, and I mean, if you look at the live comments now, a lot of people are saying it's quite poor.
What's
I
poor?
mean, the fact that you said that the tickets would go up if we went down to League Two.
I told everyone, the one thing you can't say about me is that I don't go back and stuff. I told everyone 2 years ago that the prices would go up after the freeze. Did I not?
Yeah.
I said to everyone the price will go up, and I said the reason the price will go up is because we carried so much debt the last 2 years by not putting prices up. We've had to pay staff more money. We've got a wonderful new government that's come in and absolutely slapped the knees off us with the new national insurance rules, which means we're going to be spending another, I think, 250 grand on wages every year and national insurance. So there are lots of things happening. At the end of the day, it's not a bottomless pit, Charlie. And at the same time, we can't keep spending money on players and whatever else. So it's a bit like you can't have it both ways. You know, if you're moaning about us not competing with Birmingham and Wrexham and Huddersfield and those clubs, and yes, I get the whole Mansfield comparison whopping us on our place. But if you're not happy with us not competing at the top end, what do you want from me?
No, see that side of the argument, but it was something that was put to us in the comments, something that was put to us in the chat, and I do think that, you know, us playing in League Two is a worse product than us playing in League One. And I know you may want to match inflation. I don't really want to debate economics with you, but it's something that as a fan, and maybe it's a wider problem than Peterborough United, but it's something that as a fan is a difficult thing to understand, that the product getting worse, yet the price is getting bigger.
I get it. I understand. And I get it won't make some people happy. And I appreciate that as well. But I always feel I've been as fair as I can over the years, without getting silly. I've made mistakes with prices sometimes. I've made mistakes with things. But you know, we've had a lot of things happen the last few years. I've done my best to keep the car on the road, to keep us competitive, to keep the football good. But we've had a kick in the nuts this year. So if fans are like, you know, kind of like, well, we're not going to pay anymore, we're not going to do this, we've had a really shit season. Okay, I get it. That's your prerogative. But I'd also say I'd like some of the people to be a little bit more, what's the right word to use? Not loyal, patient. There hasn't been too many bad seasons in League One served up. I get it. It's been horrible this season. More horrible for me than you, because I'm paying for a lot of the overflow on the bad. You know, you're basically just going along to a game, paying your money, your hard-earned money, and you're coming away losing a game of football. I'm paying the wages watching that. I'm paying a lot of the stuff on top. It's a killer. I said it before we came on air. It's giving me kidney stones again. I haven't had them for a few years. You know, so it can do that to you. And this doesn't need to be an economic argument. You know, things have changed out there. You know, things are more expensive. You know, our overheads have gone through the fucking roof on everything, safeguarding. All the stuff we pay for at the ground has gone up probably over 15, 20%. I'm not even talking about putting up prices that much. You know, and if you look at the last 2 years, what they've gone up, it's massive. But look, there's no violin here. This is it at the end of the day when you run a football club. So next question.
So I want to ask then sort of like a double header on what could maybe be seen as mistakes. You
Sure.
said that you don't want to go back on your word, which, cool, is fair enough. Like, that's fantastic. Do you think it was a mistake to agree to a price freeze on season tickets? Because I'm sure that if you said to every fan, okay, well, your ticket's going to go up by £30, 1, 2, 3, and that's £90 total, people would have agreed with that a lot more compared to £100 increase, or let's say £200, £300 increase next season. And then secondly, obviously, we have dabbled in more investment, and maybe that we could say that has worked partially, but in the grand scheme of things, ultimately they're now no longer here, so we can say that it hasn't worked. Would that be something that you would look into again, is taking in some external investment into the club?
Right, great questions. The first one, there's no regret about the freeze. I think the fans deserve the freeze. I think after COVID, it hit everyone hard. And I think it hit the club, it hit our fans hard. And I think, you know, we wanted to do that. And I think with everything going on off the pitch, it would have been easy to go, actually, we need 20% increases here. But I just felt at the time, can't do it. Everyone's struggling. So we thought, let's just do the freeze. But I also feel it can go both ways. You know, I'll try and look after the fans as best I can. I'd like in return for them to stay with me a little bit sometimes when it doesn't go to plan. And that might mean some increases. We're not talking about 20, 30% increases here. So these are small things, because I'd like to keep our staff. I'd like to keep people. I wouldn't want to lose people. I wouldn't want people to have to lose their jobs. So that's something that can happen. I love the staff who work for us and whatever else. So, and I get why you have to mention League Two and you have to mention these things and whatever else. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a positive-minded person. and I hate putting things out in the world. And I am one of those people. I kill my wife superstitiously when she says stuff, and I'm like, don't fucking say that or whatever else, you know. But of course, you have to have a plan C, a plan D, that if these things happen, I understand totally. But it doesn't mean it will become unaffordable for you. And it doesn't mean there won't be payback for the fans down the road. So I'll always try and do that. The second part of the question was, absolutely, I have no problem with that. Bringing in investors, bringing in people to partner with me. I've always said like-minded people who want to basically put their money where their mouth is, people who want to help, and people that will improve us, people who will help reduce our debt, people who maybe enable me not to have to put prices up all the time. I'm always up for that. No issue whatsoever. This isn't about me having to have majority control or be the one decision maker. You know, I'm a custodian. I do my best for the football club as best I can. And I love owning the football club.
Yeah. I just want to check, Darragh. I know we've had a lot of your time here. So are you okay to stay on for like another 20 minutes and then we'll round up? Is that
No
all right?
problem
Cheers.
at all. Bring it
As
on.
ever, we really appreciate it. It's been really insightful so far.
No, that's cool.
But I just want to talk contracts quickly.
Sure.
We've obviously we're in a situation now where I think you've kind of covered Kyprianou, but there are Collins and Malik Mothersill as well, who are, I think Mothersil's up this summer and Collins is next. Is that right?
Yeah, Collins has got another year and a half.
Is there any plans to offer either of those a contract to sort those out?
Malik's got another year with an option. We are offering him and Archie new contracts the end of January once the month's done. So I have to see where we are, financial landscape, financial fair play. There would be no point doing that during January. So I've got to try and do that end of January, see where we are. They both have been told they'll be offered new contracts. Absolutely. Big part of our future, both those players.
Is your inclination that they'll stay and sign them? Or do you think that Mothersill, you know, deleting his Twitter account, do you think that plays into
No, you know what? Malik's a great kid. He moved his whole family to Peterborough, like locally, built a gym in his home, really committed this summer. You know, he's a really, really good egg. And I just think he's had a bad few games. And I think he's probably more frustrated with himself. He's probably seen some of the stuff online, some of the vitriol. It's not always vitriol. It's just sometimes, like I said to you, young people see it and they're just like, I can't have my head deal with this. And he's probably made the decision, you know what? Maybe I need 5 or 6 months off social media. I need to just focus on my football. I'm confident he'll sign a new deal. I'm very confident Archie will sign a new deal. Yeah.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir with Mothersill for me. I've got his shirt in my office. I'm a massive Mothersill fan. He just doesn't like Charlie. He's always arguing with him. I guess. Go on, you go.
No, I was just going to say that you know, and this isn't a dig at Charlie or whatever else is, you know, young people are so reactionary when something happens. And I guess when a player comes out and says something, it winds up some younger people, and then they want to give it back when we lose or a player misses an opportunity or a chance. But at the end of the day, I've always said to my children, and like I said, they're 19, 18, and 16, be fucking respectful when you're on social media. Regardless of idiots you're dealing with or people you're dealing with, or even someone who winds you up or is rude to you, be fucking respectful. Be humble, be respectful until you've earned your fucking merit to go on a rant or you want to go after someone who's older than you. Show respect for your elders. Show respect for people. Don't just... I see some young people and they say things to older people. They say, you know, just like, how are these people brought up? Because my children wouldn't do that shit. Like, it wouldn't fucking happen. They'd have my foot up their fucking ass if they acted that way. And I think there's like too much of that nowadays. People think they have the freedom to go out and say shit like, fuck off and die, sell the club, do this, do that. My wife got something on social media, you know, wishing fucking cancer upon me. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. Like, I just sometimes think like young people just feel that they have like carte blanche on social media to do this shit. Like, and I just don't understand it. You know, like a few people, some of the people I think you've had in the show, you know, a year ago or 2 years ago, calling me a pikey all the time. You know, I always said they wouldn't have the cojones to stand next to me outside the entrance to the football club and say that. They wouldn't. They might say they will, but they wouldn't do it. But they feel free to go and say shit like that. Like, what possesses you? What possesses an 18, 19-year-old to say shit like that? And what possesses a 50-year-old man to say stuff like that? Sometimes I worry about what goes on in people's heads. You know, be angry at your team losing. Be angry at your player acting like a dickhead. Be angry at all of those things. But, like, save the crap. Like, there's far bigger things going on than that. I do think Malik will stay. You know, if Charlie and Malik have a running thing going on, listen, fine, that's cool. But like I always say, if you're going to come at someone to criticize, just be respectful. And I'd say to my player, vice versa, be respectful as well. If you're going to engage in a debate about someone who's maybe accusing you of not being a future Ballon d'Or winner.
So criticism leads me on to one question that we've been accused by a few people of saying that we won't ask, and it comes from Nick Jackson on social media.
Good old Nick. I still
So
have
his
that.
question
I still have an email from Nick asking for that job many, many years ago. And I think one of the reasons Nick hates me is because he never got that job in the end. Hence why, if you look, I've got my Dropbox, the date of that email, and the date about 2 weeks past that. Ever since, 99% has been like DMAC out kind of stuff along the lines. But anyway, what's Nick asked?
He's asked, can he take any criticism whatsoever without resorting to petty insults and name calling?
Okay. In what way? In what way, as regards to what insult, or sorry, what criticism has been leveled at me in a polite way that I've come back and dug someone out over?
I'll ask him to tweet us, and then we can maybe send it across to you,
okay,
so that you can discuss it. Because he didn't develop on it too much.
No, he wouldn't, because he pops up every now and then. At the end of the day, some of the stuff I see that's thrown at me and some of the crap is like, it's always after a loss straight away. Like, there's this one fan who, for probably the last year, emails me after every loss. 60 seconds after we lose, it's the same fan. Told you so. Recruitment shit. You're shit. It's the same one. I've blocked that motherfucker umpteen times, and he still keeps coming through. To the point where I need to find his home address. But look, I get it at the end of the day. I'm not happy when we lose. But some of the stuff that's said, I also think at times, and Ash, I've seen you on Twitter and you defend Charlie and fight your corner and I have respect for that. I have no problem with that. I've never seen you go out of your way to be disrespectful. You know what I mean? When you're engaging in an argument. And John the same. John can, he tweets after every performance. He's got his opinion. No problem. Some I agree with, some I don't agree with. But I would never turn around and go to John and go, John, that piece you just wrote, whatever else, what's a fucking poorly written piece of shit piece? You're the worst journalist I've ever fucking come across. Do me a fucking favor, resign from your job and go get a fucking job cleaning bins. But some of the stuff that comes over in social media is along those lines, by the way. So, but it is what it is. I'm on social media. So once you put yourself out there, people are going to come at you. I have no problem with it. And I've invited people to the club many times to have that debate and argument. 99% of the time, they won't take the invite up.
So I just wanted to go back to obviously the contracts, because we've spoken Archie and we've spoken Malik Motherseal. Obviously, we've heard it before with Burrows, with Ward, with Knight, that they were all going to sign contracts, and then it's not happened. Sure. What is going to be different this time around? And then sort of secondary, back to the investment thing. Obviously, the big talking thing from sort of 3-4 years ago was a new stadium. Is that now sort of dead in the water and we're looking to rebuild London Road as it is, or is there still a new stadium somewhere down the pipeline that we may need more investment from external people?
So contracts wise, look, I can only try my best. At the end of the day, it's players have a prerogative to say no. What's different now? What's different now is we're not flying top 3 in League One. We're not looking at promotions. So maybe players and agents might be a bit calmer as regards to engaging. So that might be different. And I also think the two lads in question, they'd like to get a pay bump. You know what I mean? And they'd like to be rewarded if they play well for the rest of the year. So at the end of the day, if they say no, they say no. We'll go and sign more players. That's what we do. All the players we sign. The reality is, at a club like ours, is that a lot of players shouldn't get a second contract. They should be moved on, or were moved on with them. And then maybe they get the contract. But in League One, I think if you have a player that's gone into a second contract, odds are it'll be difficult to get them to sign that contract. So, but they're going to be at that age where they would have thought themselves they've moved on. They're going to the next level. So, and that often happens. So it's very difficult. Harrison was the kick in the bollocks. We thought we'd get him to sign and stay. We always were led to believe that would happen. But he was offered 14 grand a week and his mind was changed. And we'd had multiple contract negotiations all year, and it just didn't happen. The other ones I wasn't shocked by. We tried. I obviously got Joel to sign. We didn't think that would happen, but we made it happen. I've offered record contracts to Kwame, to Hector. They've turned them all down, and they have done for 18 months. So, I get it. Some players feel they're getting to an age of 23, 24, where it's now or never. If they're going to make that move upwards, they need to now get to the championship and then so on. Not every player happens like Sammy, who goes to 28, 29 and ends up playing in the Premier League. Some of them feel like they're in a hurry. Regards to stadium, I'm not going to go into the stadium in a big way. Of course, it's our ambition to have a modern stadium. Would it be at London Road the way it currently is? No, I don't think that's viable to do. I haven't given up on that. And if I did bring investment in, that would be a big part of the conversation. What are we going to do with the current place, and what are we going to do with the future place? Because I still have a big belief with the city, the size of Peterborough, the growth, the amount of people that have moved in there, that 15, 20,000 all-seater modern stadium would catapult us from 9, 10,000 on average to 15 to 17 average. I do. I have a massive belief in that. I know people will probably disagree, but I do. I think families who don't go to games because maybe our toilet facilities and what it's like, I think those families who moved into the city, you would get into those games in a new stadium. So I think it would move us to the next level.
And I have a question, and it's one that obviously that this season it's been difficult, and you spoke about reactionary people and a lot of people, and they are young people my age. That there's been increasingly, Darragh out energy, and I know you've sort of you've taken a jibe at it with the name. What would you say to a fan my age that was D-Mac out? If you were given, a couple of minutes to win them over, what would you say to them to try and win them over to side D-Mac in with the rest of us?
Nothing. And the reason I'd say nothing is because I know if we won 10 games in a row, they'd be singing a different song. Because I think young people nowadays, a lot of them are fickle, including my own kids. So I don't think anything. A lot of them are at an age and at a state when they go to games where there is no rationale or rational conversation with them. They just expect us to be top 2 in League One every year. They were born in a different era, an era of success. And that's great because that's how good the club's done for the 19 years I've been here. So some people see it as negative. Oh, they don't remember the tough times. They don't remember the dark days. No, actually, it's good because that's the new generation. They were born repeatable as a bit of a force to be reckoned with in League One upwards. So those young people have that expectation. They think every year we should be basically scoring 100 goals, winning League One, winning cups, and getting to the champ. I've put that in them. I have no problem with that. I want them to feel that way. I want them to believe that. If they're not happy with me, look, this is football. It's a fickle industry. I'm not losing sleep over that. If they stop coming, okay, they stop coming. I can't control that either. The only way I can control this young generation, people of that age group, whatever else, is to win football games. Because like I said to you, football with your age group, Charlie, is a case of what have you done for me recently? It is. Say what you want about it, but that's the way it is. I can talk to a fan group from 30 to 50, and the mass majority are brilliant. They can see what's happened since the summer. They can see a lot of the issues you've had. They're quite patient with it. They're really good at talking out. A lot of the messages I get is supportive from those people. They actually spend a lot of money, these people. And they see it. And they can see what we're always trying to do. And then you get the younger fan who wants to talk about, well, I don't care about 5 months ago, I only care about now. And I don't want to pay for 5 months ago. And how dare you charge me more money for nearly winning the double last year? It should be £10 a match. And, because that's the way it is. And the local economy and what's happening with inflation doesn't matter to me. So why should it? So please, the club should be cheap to go and watch. I get it. If I sat and had a chat with my 18 and 19-year-old, trying to have that debate with them, they all want something for nothing. So young people are young people. I'm hoping as they get older and mature, and as we win games again and whatever else, it flips and it turns. And I'm hoping some of them do some economics classes at college. That's really important too.
Before we go, I want to ask about Darren Ferguson, and I appreciate this could be a little bit of a tricky one to answer, but I know you love Darren. I mean, I was massively Fergie, and I think he's done some really weird things recently that I'm kind of giving me a few doubts, if I'm being honest. But is there a stage this season where his job could come under question, or is it a case of we're going down with this ship? I believe in you so much, Fergie. We could be 24th in the league, and I'd stick with you.
Fuck me, honest to God. Okay. Look, we got to win some football games because there's no, you guys are just, unfortunately, you're like me with that pit in my stomach about not winning a game. You're in this mental headspace of we're going down, we're going to lose every game. It's done, we're done. I get it. So the best thing to do is we just got to start winning football games. We got to get our act together. We got to go put the product back out there that you all fell in love with last year and we're really happy with. And we got to get back to that. Darren Ferguson isn't going anywhere. Him and his staff are exactly what we need for where we are, what we're always trying to do, the project itself and what's going on behind. It's not, this sounds really weird. Football, winning is everything. Absolutely correct. But there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes of the club from an academy all the way through. He's the best manager for what we try and do. 99% of managers who come in and the baby would go out with the bathwater. You'd have 11 experienced players. Academy conversations wouldn't happen. A lot of shit would go backwards. I'm not going down that route again. The football, you might say the style's not great at the moment anyway. I'd argue, we've lost a lot of games. We've still tried to play football the right way, and we've won a lot of games with some good football as well. So I don't want to change what we do style-wise, play-wise, and I certainly don't want to change manager. So he's our biggest asset, in my opinion. And the second biggest asset is his team, and they're very important to the football club. So not popular with a lot of people. I'm sure the DMAC out crowd are cringing and are gutted that I'm not running out the door to try and get Guardiola while he's at a low point. But that's just the way it is right now.
And just before you go, Darragh, we want to end it on a relatively light note.
Ashley and Charlie don't look too happy at the moment, so please, something light-noted.
That's always there. That's just their faces. We just wanted to do like a quick fire round with you. So sure. You can give us one word if you want, or you can expand. We just wanted to talk. What do you think? Let's start with best signing.
This season?
No. You'd be slim pickings, wouldn't it?
The negativity. It wouldn't be slim pickings, actually, but the negativity. Okay. Best signing in time. Too many to mention. There's been so many. Obviously, I've had my personal favourites to watch, like Tomlin, those kind of players. But so many, I know you're a George Boyd fanatic. Too many to mention. I just think we've been spoilt, over the 19 years with so many good players. I think there's some more special ones to come as well. And I know you said slim pickings, but I think I look forward to in a year, 18 months time, Charlie, you, maybe not Ashley, because he seems like a grown-up at times about these things. I look forward to you guys losing your bollocks about me selling one of the current players that you hate for many millions of pounds. Can't fucking wait for it to happen, because I know it's going to happen. I know it is. Can't wait.
I was only joking anyway. I do
think
there's some good potential players.
No. Hang on. That's the bus. That's the bus reversing out of the car park. Hang on a sec. Ashley, you heard that. All right. It's not, no way. I'm telling you. It's going to happen. So, because I've been around a long time and I've seen it happen. So, yeah. So that's the answer to that one. Come on. Next question. Come on, Charlie. I see this.
No, I'm going to go because there's a lad called James in the chat who I think he hates Nick Jackson. No, it might just be your own account that you're slyly tweeting or sending in messages. Have you heard Nick Jackson's Posh song on YouTube? Is the question.
No, I didn't know he had a Posh song.
Hands up, look, because Nick will be watching.
Earns money from it.
I really like it. And Imogen sings it all the time as well. And she goes, "Yeah, we'll play that."
Listen, in defense of Nick, he has posted a couple of things that were okay, but the mass majority of his stuff is pretty much like, he can't stand me, can't stand everything I do at the club. I've always said to Nick, he seems to know better. He should really go out and buy a club, lower down the pyramid and do his stuff, because he seems to be a know-it-all on stuff that I just can't do right.
I'll go again then. So, question on the stadium: is it still in receivership?
Yes.
And is there, I guess, an end date for when that will be out of that? Probably the question to ask.
Yes.
How long, if you can answer that?
That's not important right now. What's important is it's got nothing to do with the football club, but it will happen.
I've got a question. That these are all coming in from the chat. So this one is from Mick Goodlip. Would you ever have Grant McCann back?
No.
Fair. Another one. Why are we not giving Critchlow a few games to see if he is the answer to our centre-back situation?
Next question.
Worst signing ever. Your worst signing.
It'd be just, I'm friends with a lot of my ex-players, good and bad. So, I just think it's not right, calling out players or whatever else. So, there's been a lot of bad signings over the years, because you've had 19 years in football. So there's going to be. But, it is what it is.
And this one's actually an interesting one. It's about foreign players. Since the signing of Oscar Wallen and Gustav Lindgren, have you carried on looking at the European market? Is that something you see us dipping into again in the near future?
Potentially, but there's a restriction on the ESC type player you can get license-wise. We've got 2 at the moment. We're at our cap on that. So there's ways around the permits and stuff. So it's not as easy, but it hasn't put me off doing business abroad. I know some of you are a bit like that with Oscar, but I do think there's a player in there, and I seriously believe. I think Gustav's going to be a favourite of yours, John. I do. Whenever the fuck he plays, I think he's going to be a favourite.
So I guess is that frustrating you at the moment that we've sort of had this lined up for sort of 3 months and he's now not going to be ready, in a sense?
I'm hoping he's ready this week.
Hat-trick at Goodison Park then.
Yay!
I'll say it.
I'll have him sold by the end of January, according to the DMAC crowd. I'm joking.
So probably to wrap up, what the answer is, and there's lots of numbers bandied around. What does it cost to open up the GH, and what do Posh fans have to do consistently to get that as a stand that we can sell season tickets in? Because I've said many a time before that I had a season ticket in there right up by the screen before they put in the new screen. It just doesn't sit. We know that we have more people allegedly coming through the door. Can we get a number on how full it needs to look or how busy it needs to be to get season tickets back into that GH? Because there's lots of young fans that want to go in there.
Okay. Who's Lods, by the way? Because I've just seen him put up there. These questions are dog shit. Who's he? Lods is on
the pod. Lods is our admin.
Right. Okay,
and,
gotcha.
And Lods is also a sponsor of the football club. He sponsors Archie Collins' home and away kit. SC stickers. Shout out for so all those pesky stickers that you see around your stadium.
Right.
You can blame Lods for that.
I'm meeting a lot of sponsors on Tuesday morning, to be fair. I did say to the guys in commercial they'd organised it 3 months ago. I said, no one will probably show up. You know what I mean? It's what happened to me not winning games. But sorry, in answer to your question, that's a Chris Brewer question. Because he is the guru when it comes to all of that stuff. I know there are plans afoot. So, but that is really something that you need to, and Chris is good with engaging with people and stuff online. He's very direct right down the line with things. But there are plans afoot. That's all I can say there. I'm all right for a couple more questions, lads, before you wrap up, if you have any decent questions. As long as it's not economics.
I think it'd be rude not to ask you what your expectations would be for Thursday then on the Everton game.
You know what? It's the stadium to knock off the list. Hopefully we do. Do you know what? If I had an Aston Villa moment like we had for our fans a few years ago, I'd probably run naked through Liverpool on the way home. So but 19 years I've been waiting for us to have a giant killer shock, and it's never happened. So I think it'll be another 19 fucking years as well. I don't know. I'm more focused on the following week, so I'll be there. I'll be at Everton. I'm looking forward to it, but my whole emphasis is on the following week, and that is Walsall and Leyton Orient. They're the two. For me, that's what I'm kind of like zoned in on. Are all you going to Everton? Are you all going? John, you're not going?
I can't get the leave off work. It's 2 days annual leave. I haven't got it. So, yeah.
Shit.
Long journey from Bracknell, isn't it? Like, I live in Bracknell now, so it's like 4 hours there.
Yeah, you're living in Bracknell.
Yeah, I'm not too far from you, I don't think.
Yeah, you're nearly an Ascot boy now, yeah? That actually suits you, Johnny boy.
Ascot, you want a round?
You got fucking hell. I didn't realise you got a decent job. Fucking hell. Bracknell. Wow, hey. Bloody hell. Yeah, nice neck of the I used to live in Sunningdale. So I used to always, Bracknell's lovely, to be fair. But no, so well, look, shame you're not going on Thursday, but hopefully we'll have a good night without you. My first game when I took over was Everton. Maybe my last game will be Everton.
Well, I'll be watching on BBC iPlayer for sure. Yeah. Getting the money's worth out of that, that decision.
Nonsense, absolute nonsense.
To be honest, we could keep going for hours, but look, we're so grateful for your time. Hopefully you found it a fair trial, and we haven't said anything that's going to put you off coming on again.
You've been very respectful, even Charlie, and I've no problem at all. Look, life's all about disagreements, and opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them, and I always say to my kids, you have to fight your corner, but do it respectfully, and you can have your opinion, but just make sure your opinion has got balance. Make sure it's got, evidence. And when you're beat, give the fuck up. I say that to my kids as well when I have a debate with them. But I found it respectful. And to be fair, most of the questions, I'm sure, for the DMAC out crowd were respectful. And I wish everyone the best, and I appreciate it. And look, I know I'm not going to apologise for us losing those games. There's no point. It's like words don't mean shit. We have to go and win football games. And at the end of the day, we haven't done enough of that recently. But I also know recently the last 2 seasons for me have been pretty good. And I still have belief we'll end the season in a really, really good frame of mind for next season. I'm still convinced of that. I know Charlie thinks we're going one way only, but I still think we'll have a really good end to the season. And I still think that will springboard us into next season to something we've not done before as regards to, at the top of League One. So it's something I've always wanted to do and still have aspirations to do after 19, 20 years. And I think the next 2 windows are going to help us build towards that. So I'm looking forward to that. And the manager's the same as me. He's actually, it's the closest we've ever been. And he's really aligned on that. So, we want to fix, everything that's going on. And I think we'll do it. So, that's how I feel about it all.
Well, it's a very positive. Oh,
John, can I get? Yeah, I want to go because somebody's asked a question. Let's say that where do you want us to finish after? Obviously, I think it's 19th at the moment. Where is a realistic sort of prediction for us to finish this second half of the season? And let's say that we do go on a good run and we sort of, let's say, finish 8th, 9th, 10th. Do you then have concerns that people come looking for the players again that have sort of got us on this run?
I'm never concerned about that because that's just who we are. We're one of the best in the business for that, and that's what we do. I look, at the end of the day, players will leave, players will come in. I would love us to finish top half really strongly. I'd love us to finish with an unbeaten run, and I would like us to do really well in the trophy again, and then just finish the season with a real good taste where we feel a couple of things in the summer and we're good to go, and we just like plug in and play. And that's where I see the season ending, strongly for us, and then probably ending in May going, fuck, I wish it was July, August already. So that's the feeling I want the minute the season ends. Like, I want to start the new season now because I feel we're plugged in, we're good to go. And, we're a couple of pieces away in the summer from being a really, really, really excited. Because I honestly do think, and I might sound mental and mad, 4 or 5 of the players we've signed this year, that year one under their belt and coming through this could be unplayable at this level. They could be like next level. And yeah, I'm very, very confident. So let's see. At the end of the day, I'm here to be shot down. I'm sure everyone disagrees with me, or some do, some don't. That's the beauty about football. But it'll always be up to Posh. And, I always will back our dog to win, no matter what, when the chips are down. So stay with us. We'll be good.
Well, it's a nice note to end. Just so people know, we do this every week, sometimes more than once a week. Basically, after every game we're on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe, if you want to listen to the podcast, we realize there's more listeners. This might be your first time listening. Hopefully you don't think we bottled it like a few people were accusing us of when we announced that you were coming on, Darragh. Just before we go, we want to ask one more favor of you, Darragh. Before we sign off, every week we go up the Poshcast, and that's where the episode cuts. We'd love a Darragh MacAnthony up the Poshcast to finish up, if that's all right.
You want a free endorsement, do you?
That's basically
big time, yeah, 100%.
Even you, Charlie. Well, look, economics works. Like, I feel I need to be paid for this endorsement, Charlie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm joking. I will say this:
name the price.
Up the Poshcast. Hope everyone's listening, even the Hard Truth fans. And I'll give you a little plug on the Hard Truth podcast as well. And well done to you, fellas. And hopefully it'll go strong till the end of the season. And you get more and more listeners, not just your mom and dad. All right. So, I'm only joking. Charlie, thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Up the Poshcast.
God bless everyone. Up the Poshcast.